This is the Voice of America in Washington, resuming its broadcasts on this frequency via transmitting facilities in Munich.
State Linda Thomas Greenfield, less than a month ago. The United States, along with regional leaders of the Economic Community of Central African States, the African Union, and other members of the international community, hopes to support the new interim president. And we call on the people of the CR to work constructively with her, participate in the political process, and avoid any resurgence in violence.
That was an editorial reflecting the views of the United States government. For a transcript of this and other VOA editorials, or to receive editorials by email, visit the VOA Editorials Internet homepage at www.voanews.com/editorials. On Africa News Tonight, we let the sound tell the story, putting you in the middle of events, from Africa's news to world crises. Africa News Tonight comes to you live from the Voice of America on the following shortwave frequencies: 6080 kilohertz and 15580 kilohertz. We're also live on the internet at www.voaafrica.com.
Washington, this is VOA News. A defiant Morsi is on trial in a jailbreak case, and Syrian peace talks are on hold for a day. I'm Francis Aranda reporting from Washington. Ousted Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi protested at his new trial in Cairo from a glass and metal cage as he faces charges of breaking out of prison in 2011. Video showed Mr. Morsi dressed in a white jumpsuit yelling in the courtroom at the judge from his largely soundproof cage. The former president is being tried along with 130 other people, including members of his Muslim Brotherhood, the Palestinian militant group Hamas, and the Lebanese group Hezbollah. Mr. Morsi is facing 3 other trials.
For Strategic and International Studies. Thanks so much to both of you for sharing your terrific insights. Encounter was produced in Washington. Thanks to Anna Zalewski for booking our guests. Our engineer was Joe Gill. And I'm Carol Castiel. Join me again next week for another Encounter on the Voice of America.
Encounter on the Voice of America. Encounter on the Voice of America brought together advocates and opponents debating the critical issues of our time in a freewheeling, no-holds-barred discussion of fact and opinion. Your host was Carol Castiel. Join us again next week for another Encounter on the Voice of America.
In Africa, coming up right after these latest world news headlines.
A high court decision that could overturn Egypt's constitution, and a strong earthquake in Taiwan. I'm Marty Johnson reporting from Washington. Egypt's highest court has ruled that Parliament and the group of lawmakers who wrote its constitution were not legally elected, a ruling that could overturn the country's new government and its laws. VOA's Elizabeth Barrett reports from Cairo.
That was Avalon. First, the original Roxy Music recording from 1982. And then the new hot jazz version by the Brian Ferry Orchestra. The orchestra also covers Roxy Music's early hits, Do the Strand and Virginia Plain, as well as Reason or Rhyme from Brian Ferry's previous solo release, Olympia. The upcoming Jazz Age Tour will stop in more than 15 cities across the United Kingdom, including the New Theatre in Oxford and Royal Albert Hall in London. I'm Doug Levine. all the time we have for this week's show. Bob Doty produced our program in Washington. Faith Lapidus, Rob Sivak, and Jane Friedman edit the features you hear each week. We'd love to hear from you. You can send us an email by addressing it to AmericanCafe@voanews.com. You can also find us on Facebook, where our address is VOA American Cafe. Just look for the steaming hot coffee cup. Also, you can call us. Dial the international code, then 1 for the United States, 202-205-9942. When you hear the VOA ID, just dial 05 and leave your questions or comments. For all the folks here at VOA, I'm David Byrne. We'll see you next time. Press Conference USA on the Voice of America. Newsmakers from America and around the world speak with journalists in an unscripted and unrehearsed discussion about the critical issues facing the United States and the world. Here is your host on this edition of Press Conference USA, Carol Castiel.
Welcome to Press Conference USA on the Voice of America. Joining me on the program is Sarah Zaman, TV reporter and producer in VOA's Urdu service. Our special guest on this edition of the program is Her Royal Highness Princess Basma bin Saud. She's the granddaughter of King Abdulaziz, the founder of the modern Saudi state. She's also the 115th child of his son, King Saud, who reigned from 1953 to 1964. Princess Basma is therefore the niece of the current Saudi ruler, King Abdullah. Her Royal Highness Princess Basma is a businesswoman and an advocate for reform. She currently lives in London. Princess Basma uses her prominent position as one of the elite royals to speak out for women in a culture where they have little voice. She has created a website called the official website of Her Royal Highness Princess Basma bin Saud, where she writes a blog and tackles issues of poverty and women's rights. Princess Basma has called for changes in the Saudi constitution, an overhaul of the educational system, reform of social services, and changes in the role of the so-called mahram, the male guardian that all Saudi women are required to have, since the state considers women as legal minors. Her Royal Highness Princess Basma bin Saud joins us here at the VOA Broadcast Center in Washington. Your Royal Highness, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me, and I'm very happy to be here.
And I'm delighted to welcome my colleague, Sarah Zaman.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here.
Your Royal Highness, your website says that you intend to use your resources to bring people together to work towards reform, towards the reduction of inequality, to promote education.
The project was released in 2011. The film includes never-before-seen images of tornadoes.
The National Weather Service says the United States gets more severe weather than any other country. One reason for this is because the U.S. is bigger than many countries. It also has many different kinds of conditions that create many different kinds of weather. There are seacoasts and deserts, flatlands and mountains. The west coast is along the Pacific Ocean, which is relatively calm. The east coast is along the Atlantic Ocean, which is known for its hurricanes. These strike mainly the southeastern states.
This Science in the News was written by George Grove and Christopher Cruz, who also produced our report. I'm Anna Mateo.
And I'm...
Beautiful music, the African beat crisscrossing the continent, Abushi Zaleke of Ethiopia. And right before that was Tupendane by Pilipili of Kenya and Gadalisha by Dr. Josie Chameleon of Uganda. This is your super show, the show that brings happiness into your homes, smiles on your faces, wherever you go, whatever you're doing. Just keep listening. I'm Gogo Brandy. I'm Apple right back. The lyrics could be French, English, Portuguese, French, Arabic, etc. It is the African beat that counts.
The people follow the translation.
It cuts across all languages and gives us the understanding that this is the African beat.
It is so
United States. And at yes,
it binds us together.
African Beat on the Voice of America. Mondays through Fridays. 0900 and 2000 Universal Time.
With David Benji.
You love the African Beat. We love you, and so we want to keep hearing from you. If you have any comments about this show, contact us by email on africanbeat@voanews.com. African Beat at voanews.com. Tell us what you think about this show. If you have a request, you can call us in the United States on 202-205-9942. And when you hear the Voice of America identification, you press 65 and leave your message. The party continues on the African Beat. Unanijua, Unaniskia, the sound of Monafe from Tanzania is coming up right now. And right after that, Fine Fine Love, J. Martins of Nigeria. And Looking for Love by Benny Oke of Liberia. But Unanijua, Unaniskia by Monafe of Tanzania comes up right now.
For the meeting. And finally, as we mentioned, it is World Press Freedom Day tomorrow, and commemorative activities are taking place around the continent of Africa. And that's a look at some of the top stories. I'm Carol Van Dam.
For you this Friday, go to the Chilo Kingdom from Vivian. This one is Pindal Cheno.
U.S. federal agents have arrested a man for threatening House Speaker Nancy Pelosi in the latest incident linked to controversial plans to reform health care. That's the news from the Voice of America in Washington. Good morning, Africa. Today is Thursday, the 8th day of April. Welcome to Daybreak Africa from the Voice of America. I'm James Barty in Washington, and here are the stories we are covering. The United States ties closed, but backs current Sudan election schedule.
We want to see CPA implementation continue on schedule. This election is part of that process.
Nations that help support Afghanistan, led by the United States, have promised billions of dollars in aid after NATO forces withdraw at the end of 2014. But they are demanding that the government bring corruption under control. And that's the economics report in special English. Listen to our reports online at learningenglish.voanews.com. I'm Mario.
Welcome to American Mosaic in VOA Special English. I'm June Sims. On the show today, we hear music from some of the performers at the South by Southwest Music Festival in Austin, Texas. We also talk about efforts to remember the many Americans killed in the nation's Civil War in the 1860s. And we hear about efforts against some of the Civil War memorials that already exist. In music, television, movies, authors who are writing about topics you care about. So if you want to get the insight on what's going on in the hip-hop world and be a member of the culture, you need to be listening to Hip Hop Connection every Friday and Saturday at 2100 UTC right here on the Voice of America. Hey, if you missed out on Friday and Saturday night, check out the replays on Saturday and Sunday at 1500 UTC, right here on the Voice of America. Going big boat.
It's 19 hours Universal Time. Here's the news from the Voice of America. I'm Bob Gotkin from the VOA News Center in Washington. President Barack Obama is on Capitol Hill today
for a last-minute appeal to pass major health care reform legislation. The VOA Sketch Line.
News update on VOA 1. I'm David Byrd reporting. One person has been killed and 3 others wounded when gunmen attacked a cafe in Denmark where a satirical cartoonist was set to speak. Danish Prime Minister Helle Thorning-Schmidt has called Saturday's deadly shooting at a free speech event in Copenhagen a terrorist attack.
Denmark has been hit by a very serious act of violence tonight. We feel certain now that it is a politically motivated attack and thereby it is a terrorist attack.
Thorning-Schmidt added that all of Denmark is on high alert and police have been deployed across the country. This is VOA News.
Thousands of Indians in the American West listened to Wavoka's message. They believed him, and they began to dance for long hours every day. On the Sioux reservations, all other activities stopped. Children no longer went to school. No one did anything but dance. All this frightened white officials. They tried to arrest some Indian leaders to stop the dancing. The arrests led to fighting, and the fighting led to a final battle in which the army defeated the Indians completely. The Indian wars were over. Wavoka himself told his followers, "Our trails are covered with grass and sand. We cannot find them. Today, I call upon you to travel a new trail. It is the only trail now open. The white man's road."
Our program was written by Frank Beardsley. The narrators were Kay Gallant and Harry Monroe. Transcripts, MP3s, and podcasts of our programs are online, along with historical images, at voaspecialenglish.com. Join us again next week for The Making of a Nation, an American history series in VOA Special English.
This is the Voice of America, Washington, D.C., signing off.
And international law
is something that's really important to the protection of democracies, to sustainable development. And that's what the UN is trying to focus on this year, that you can't have development without having a truly uninhibited free press.
Hello, I'm Kim Lewis.
And I'm Yehia Swahib.
Together we host the Voice of America's informative program, Africa News Tonight.
We present a thorough summary of the day's events, featuring interviews with newsmakers in Africa and the world.
Also, Sunny Young drops in live with sports, and we have features on science, health, and business.
Tune in Monday through Friday at 1600 and 1800 UTC, right here on the Voice of America.
Hello, I'm Douglas Mpuga. Join me for Table every Thursday at 17:30 UTC. We'll take an in-depth look at an African news topic important to you. We'll have African journalists and expert guests share the ideas on the topic at hand. So please plan to be with us every Thursday at 17:30 UTC, right here on the Voice of America.
This is the Voice of America, Washington, D.C., signing off. This program has come to you from the Voice of America, Washington. This is the Voice of America, Washington, D.C., signing off.